It was very disheartening. We had a lot of momentum this year. Uh, we were one of the top teams in the league for a good part of the season. Uh, the game that West went down after we made the trade for Aaron, won 5 in a row, 4 of them against very good teams. Looked like we were peaking. Had a lot of good positive energy, and it kind of unraveled, starting with Wes's injury, and then the thing about when Wes got hurt, we had already had fought through some adversity, with Robin's injury and Joel's injury and uh, LA's hand and Nick's injury. So we felt like we had gone through the adversity part and kind of were ready to hit stride. And it was very disheartening. And I think the way the regular season ended with, we really weren't playing for much. We were kind of locked into the 4 seed. We weren't playing our best basketball, uh, and we didn't have a lot of uh, positive energy going into the playoffs. It's not that we didn't think that we could win, but certainly we knew that we were going to have to play better.
Despite the adversity, are there some bright spots, particularly getting to finding time for Myers and CJ down the stretch that you can say maybe not as a success, but there's some positives there at the end?
I'd say, the first thing before I get to the playoffs is that in many ways this regular season was better than last year. We won 51 games this year, 54 last year. Last year we didn't have any injuries. We had a rough stretch. LA got hurt a little bit, but we didn't have a lot of injuries, and we had some rough patches, but nothing major. The To do what we did this year with the injuries and different lineups and uh, some of those things and still win 51. Last year we had to win 9 out of 10 to finish the season because we needed to win 9 out of 10. This year we didn't have that. I think we would have had the same wins if we had had the same pressure put upon us at the end of the season. So I thought the regular season, to win 51 games and win a division, like I said, in many ways, to be in the top 10 in both offense and defense, which was the goal going into the season, to make the strides defensively that we made this year. We were in the top 5 for most of the season until the end. So we made really good strides, and we're really going in the right direction until the last month. Now, as far as the playoffs, definitely CJ and Myers were positive in the playoffs. There weren't a lot of positives in the playoffs, but certainly those two shone brightly.
On the flip side, what are your some regrets back in the season, that stretch?
At the end of the season or the playoffs?
Both. And sort of leading up to it.
The regrets is that we didn't play our best basketball against Memphis, and I'm always quick to give Memphis credit for being a good team, and obviously we struggled against them during the regular season as well. But my probably my disappointment was that we didn't really play our best basketball. Uh, we didn't score the ball like we could. Defensively we're okay, but um, we showed signs, but we just weren't able to consistently play our best.
With Myers and CJ, what are you most pleased with their development, how they came along this season?
It's with Myers, it's been a 3-year development. It's not like he woke up in the playoffs and said, "I'm a player." Uh, he's worked extremely hard over 3 years to get to this point, and that's one of the things that we've said about Myers from day one, is that it was going to take time, and it's going to take hard work, and the opportunities will be there. And I'm pleased with him in that he really uh, he showed a lot of uh, mental perseverance, because he took a lot of criticism throughout his first 2.5 years, and got to the point at the end of the season where people were glad to see him go in the game and disappointed when he didn't take a shot, and he was really getting cheered on. And to see, I've never coached college, but to see a young man go from where Myers was year one as a rookie, and to come in as and make a difference in playoff games. It's fun to see that maturation, both basketball-wise, emotionally, mentally, everything.
Safe to say that defensively, that's where you're most pleased with him and his progress, especially, or it's all around game.
Yeah, I think defensively was the area. I think it's for any player, big or small. It's more difficult to come in here and learn NBA defense than offense. You know, most players come in here with a somewhat defined offensive skill set, and obviously they get better at it. But the way Myers was able to, throughout the year, not just in the playoffs, but throughout the year, show his improvement at the defensive end, so that he can play alongside in the playoffs. He plays alongside LaMarcus and can still bang with Gasol, and then have an impact at the offensive end as well. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting. You know, I have no idea what's going to happen. You know, we have a lot of free agents, and everybody's going to do what they got to do. But it's going to be an interesting offseason with the number of free agents that we have. I was hoping you would be the one to ask that. Actually, not really. You know, I think we changed starting lineups the first 3 games. We really didn't have anything clicking in the first 2 games at the offensive end. You know, CJ started the first game, Allen started the second game, Aaron started the third game. Chris Kaman didn't play the second game because of injuries. Myers got to play those 2 games. One of the points that you continually point out about Myers only playing 5 minutes in Game 3. Chris Kaman actually played very well that game, and I chose to go with Chris in the second half instead of Myers because of how well Chris and that unit played, and actually he did in the second half as well. You know, we made some adjustments. I think the best adjustment we made was Mike Conley got hurt. You know, that kind of helped our fortunes a little bit. But you know, you make decisions, and I'm not one really to go back and you try not to have regrets. Certainly, you look at some things. There weren't. You know, I look at Game 3. Game 3 was a 3-point game with 2.5 minutes to go. Game 4 was a 2-point game with 2.5 minutes to go. Essentially, both games were the same. Memphis made the plays in the last 2.5 minutes. In Game 3, we made them in Game 4. And playoff basketball is like that. But, you know, to your point, the first 2 games were really out of reach. We really weren't into it to really even question any of the decisions that were made because we really got off to such poor starts.
Barring a trade, you'll have Myers and CJ back next
Yeah.
year. How have they improved their stock when they can?
Look, I think they answered a lot by what they did in the playoffs, and certainly players make their mark in the playoffs. And probably one of the more pleasing things for me with those 2 guys was coming back after a good Game 4 and backing it up with a good Game 5. You know, a lot of players can have a game, but to come back the next night on the road in a closeout game and to have a game, I think that was probably the most encouraging thing that they did in the series. You know, we'll see what happens in the summer with free agency and roster management and all that, but certainly, you know, we have valued them from the day we drafted them, and the fact that they've continued to improve, they continue to work, and you know, I was glad that it was able to pay off for them and for us.
Because there's so much uncertainty with the roster, does that change or delay you from maybe making any changes that you want to make offensively or defensively at all?
Oh, I won't even begin to look at that until, you know, after the roster's set. I think fundamentally we'll stay the way I think we'll stay the course defensively. You know, the strides that we made defensively from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, there's no reason to go against that. Everybody's familiar with what we want to do. I think part of the roster construction, however it goes, is fundamentally I don't want to change how we play. I want to move the ball and pass and give players freedom to make basketball plays and shoot threes and do what we do best.
Chris said that he told him sort of don't worry about the contract stuff. We'll wait a little bit to address it head on. How long will you give yourself to sort of shift your focus that way?
Me,
Yeah.
as far as
As far as start worrying about the roster and start worrying about the stuff.
look, the roster is, obviously Neil will consult me and everything, but that has its own timetable, and you can't speed it up. It's going to happen, and you can't. It is what it is. So I
Well, do you start worrying about it the last week of June, or do you start worrying about it, next Wednesday?
about what my roster's going to be. Oh, I'm not worried about it. We will have a roster next year.
Do you want to see the same guys back here?
I loved everybody on the roster. This was a great group to work with. Last year to this year, we had 13 players come back, and I thought that was really good for us. Whether that happens this year or not, I don't know. But I liked everybody on our roster just as I did the previous year. And but that's not my decision. It's some of it won't be our decision. Players are free agents; they can do what they want. So. That's what free agency is all about.
Will you do any lobbying at all, Tom?
No, that's free agency and roster management. That's all Neil's thing. I think it's very important that we have one voice talking to agents. Obviously, if Neil asked me to talk to somebody, I will, but I wouldn't do it without his recommendation.
Aside from what you said about CJ, game 4 to game 5, backing that up, what are you most pleased with in his development this season, where he grew?
I've felt bad for CJ for his first 2 years because it's been so disjointed. I've mentioned this before, but his first year he gets hurt in training camp and doesn't come back until January to a team that's one of the best teams in the league, and it's hard to integrate into what's already been developed. And then this year, same thing with the injury, and then trading for Aaron. So. It's been an up and down 2 years for him, and not of his own making. And the fact that he's had the perseverance to stay with it and get back into a groove, and then to do it on the playoff stage, showed a lot of character and talent.
What was it with Aaron? Was he just he came in late and just never really got in a rhythm, and because of his shoulder really didn't provide that
You mean in
much?
the playoffs or in the regular season?
Both. I mean, it's almost like every night was just different for him.
I'll take the regular season. I think for him coming into a team after having never come off the bench for 5 years. For 5 years, he started every game he played. And then to come into a good team and transition into a situation that's already successful and not want to, ruffle any feathers or make any waves was difficult. And I thought he made that transition pretty well, as witnessed by that 5-game stretch before Wes got hurt. So I thought he was getting into a good place, and matter of fact, we finished a couple games with him, with LA at 5, and him and Wes and Nick and Dame. So that transition was going well. And then I thought when Wes got hurt, he transitioned into being a starter and felt more comfortable with that. And then he just never recovered from the shoulder. I mean, you could tell in the playoffs he wasn't himself. I mean, it was disappointing that he wasn't able to play in games 1 and 2, and then it was disappointing that in games 3, 4, and 5, you could tell that he wasn't able to do the things that he was capable of.
Did he indicate in his meeting with you guys whether or not he was going?
He did not.
Time for a couple more questions.
Did everybody show up for their exit interview?
Yep.
Do you have big summer plans?
No. No, I don't.
Not yet.
No.
Are you planning on visiting Combine and Summer League?
No, Chicago is really, it's changed. It's really, I've talked to Neil. If he wanted me to go there, I was certainly willing to go there, but it doesn't sound like I'm really needed there. I'll be here for all the workouts when players come here to work out and get to know them, take them out to dinner or whatever, but there's really no need for me to go to Chicago.
When you say change,
That he's going to play on the summer league team.
Who? Alan, yeah.
Who else on your roster?
We'd anticipate Tim and whoever we draft.
Okay, we're wrapping up there.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for a good year, everybody.